Here. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm on early as I normally am, and I have our guest on already. I'm super excited to do introductions, but let me go ahead and log on to the live on Facebook so that it can be public to everyone. Oh, let's see here. Added public. Okay, it should go public here shortly. And then let me look on Intentional Dads and make sure it's live there. Public, okay. Yep.
So are we public now?
Yes, we should be. Okay. Yes. Yes. I had to it's interesting. I learned that on Facebook, they have like a feature where even though it shows up on my stream, I have to go on to, and edit the view and then make it public so that it will actually connect to other. So anyway, I had to learn that. I wouldn't say the hard way. I just learned it a little earlier. But anyhow, I'm super excited. I'll give it a few minutes before I guess to be timely, I'll give it until 7:00 and then I'll go ahead and get started. But yeah, I'm just excited to have you, and I'm excited, honestly, for the next guest also that I have coming on. I actually shared your information with him because he is also a your website and everything. He is a published author of a kid's book and some other things he does, but extremely focused around educating our children. He recently got married, but he was a single father of 4.
Oh, wow. Oh man, that is funny because I had that same situation myself.
Yeah. Oh wow. So I might mention this again and give him a shout out, but and when I interviewed him for the book, education was like number one. When I asked him about what men can do, those types of things. And so I had to hit him up. I said, hey, Jalil, you should definitely go to this site. I said, everything that you're interested in, it can be found on his site. So he was like, oh man, I'll have to check it out.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that is funny too with the 4. Now, if he has 3 boys and 1 girl, that'd be crazy.
I can't remember. I think he has two boys and 2 girls, or maybe I don't know. Now you're gonna make me look real quick.
Yeah, 3. If he has 3 boys and 1 girl, then that's
Let me look at these photos real quick and see what's going down here. Him and the kids. Good evening, everyone. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. I'm excited to get started with y'all tonight and do introductions. I'm just looking for something really quick. Okay, maybe this is him and his kids. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3. Maybe he has 5 kids. I thought it was 4.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was 4. I was trying to look for his family photo. Facebook lets you get in all kind of people's business here. Let's see here. Yeah, I can't seem to find it, but I'll have to ask him. All right, so since it's 7:00, we can go ahead and get started. I just wanted to thank all of you that have already joined and those individuals that will join. My philosophy and the way that I think is that whoever is supposed to be joining, they'll join at the proper time, or they'll view this content at the proper time. And I believe that everything that is shared is going to be beneficial and fruitful to those that get to listen in, participate. Definitely, as always, if you're listening please tap in and let us know on the comment sections. Just say hello, let us know you're there. And then if we're talking about a topic, definitely respond in the comment area, and then I'll try to do better at pausing just to review and see if I should ask questions, or you guys have a question that you want me to ask Dr. JL. And this way we can get them covered during the conversation instead of coming back and trying to cover all the comments in writing. But anyway, welcome to Intentional Conversations. I'm excited. Today we're going to talk about dynamics of fatherhood and education with Dr. JL. I'm super excited. I want to first give my normal disclaimer, which is pretty simple. It's the fact that everything shared on here is not meant to diagnose or treat or share perspectives in a way that would tell you that this is the way you should go. We always encourage you to, whatever topics we cover, to seek out your own professional counseling and sounding boards, et cetera, in order for you to have the proper help and journey partners that you need. But I do believe that we're supposed to do life together. And I believe that sharing best practices, lessons learned, and things of that nature is how we grow, and how it's really the best way to journey in life. So I would say that the insight that will be shared will be beneficial to you to the extent that you leverage it, right? So that's how that works, right? So we are going to start with this interview. I have some questions, but we freestyle too, based on whatever you share and however the Lord moves us in the conversation. But we have a flow of just to make sure that you guys can know about Dr. JL and who he is. We'll start there. He can provide perspective about his organization, the services and products, et cetera, that he extends, and just his area of purpose and passion, which I think is exciting. And then just we'll flow into insight about just the father child dynamic and things of that nature, education, how we can leverage it, and how fathers and mothers can really tap into certain resources, especially resources that are close to us when it comes to just communicating in a different way, leveraging music and the culture and things of that nature. So we'll get into some other things, but anyway, I'll stop there and just hand the floor over to Dr. JL, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Hey, well, how everyone doing with Intentional Conversations? It's your boy, Dr. JL Adolph, the ex-large professor of DadCypher Edutainment. So happy to be here to talk about hip-hop, fatherhood, and education. I mean, it's the triple threat. It's the unholy trinity that we're going to break down with 2 turntables and a microphone.
Come on with it.
and so we're going to talk to you all about, how do we keep that father-child bond? How do we address our ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, and how you can use writing as a therapeutic process to help not only yourself, but help your connection with your child and that sort of thing. Because one of the number one things that our students are struggling with is they bring traumas into the classroom. So if you want to learn more about that, it's time that you get intentional with this conversation.
Come on with it.
Click and subscribe, and make sure you tell friends about this, because you guys are going to pretend like it's a Tyler Perry moment. You're going to want to go ahead and eat up some of this spiritual and food that we're about to drop on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it, man. I'm gonna have you open the rest of these intentional conversations. So tell us a little bit about who are you and what do you do, right? I know, and how'd you get started with everything? Because I think that is where we could lay the foundation and then segue into how we know some of the things that you shared, how trauma comes into the classroom, how we know that through culture and hip hop, we can connect in a practical, organic way with our youth and actually use it as therapy that will help them sort out what they're dealing with and really heal and be more productive. So just start with who's Dr. JL?
Well, Dr. JL Adolph is a product of teenage parents from St. Louis, Missouri, raised by a grandmother, grew up in one of the most poverty-stricken areas in St. Louis. He is a survivor of a deficit mindset. He is a survivor of adverse childhood experiences. He is also a father of four who has slayed many generational curses.
Come on.
And he was able to find purpose and calling through hip hop culture. And he uses those lessons to help other young people to overcome their traumas. He uses his experiences as a dad to empower other fathers to become more involved in the child's education, to heal from their own ACEs. Works with negative co-parenting, but for the most part, do this. I believe in having people to find their own story and be empowered by that story. So if you got nothing else, my purpose is to help people to realize that they have the power of the pen to write their own life story. And it's time that we got to doing that. So that's what I hope that I do.
Jail, so when it comes down to what you do in your journey and how you actually use your specific story, so you said you were definitely impoverished. You were raised in situations. I think you had a father absenteeism and mother, or just father.
Yeah, my mother was there, so I'm a product of teenage parents. So my mom, I would say she did a lot of sacrificing in terms of working outside of the home. Okay. I've always known my mother as working 2 or 3 jobs, but as a result of that, I was raised on an everyday basis by my grandmother. So my mother did a lot to take care of me from a financial standpoint. And my father, mostly, I would say, because he had dealt with his own father absenteeism and that sort of thing, he never learned how to really navigate and get around that. So as a result of his father absence, I would probably say it led to him making poor decisions, that going into a life of making really high risk behaviors, selling drugs, incarceration. So for the most part, I really had to survive a lot of situations where it was I felt at times like parental neglect, dealing with incarceration, dealing with mental health issues that was in the household, and then also in the community that was in the 80s and 90s that was ravaged by the crack era. So all of those things definitely took a tremendous toll on my mental health without me even realizing it. Because at that particular time, and as is currently in the Black and Brown communities, mental health was not an issue that we discussed. It was more of pray over it, go to Jesus, and trust me, I do believe in a spiritual foundation, but also it's important. I didn't know the importance of mental health, and did not discover my own issues with depression and anxiety until I turned the age of 31, well into being a parent. But I just found myself repeating some of the generational curses in terms of the anxiety, in terms of the harsh discipline and that sort of thing. And it really took me really opening myself up to a lot of vulnerability that I found in hip hop fatherhood narratives. And for those who don't know, it's just stories that artists talk about being a dad and sharing their insecurities that
Right.
really opened me up to, beginning to write my own journey along with receiving therapeutic help. Um, so yeah.
So that's what I want to really dive into, because to your point, I think that a lot of us, Black and brown community, and just people in general, and then a lot of men that I've spoken to, um, and I should just say women, we had in particular errors, we did deal with a lot of different trauma, a lot of different things that we didn't talk about, right? If it goes on in this house, it stays in his house. You don't go telling people my business, and or CPS is going to be coming in. You want to be living with a stranger, no, or what?
Exactly.
I don't know if you heard those stories.
Oh
Or
yeah, live
yeah,
those stories.
And so, or the other one that I used to hear was, girl, Sheila done had a nervous breakdown. And that was something I heard, which was really, she has been overwhelmed with a variety of different things that she can't really manage it. And there was no coping techniques, or other than you just keep it pushing. You build a bridge, you get over it, you keep it pushing, and it is what it is. So then, to your point, whether the mother or father was there or not, the presence, the one question that I ask a lot of fathers and parents is, do you feel like you're a present parent? And I specifically define things, because I want to say present meaning physical, emotional, mental, psychological, those. And when we talk about the depth of presence, then that's when people start saying, well, you know what, real talk, I was there, my kids knew they could depend on me, but no, I didn't talk about emotions, no, I didn't deal with that. And so kind of seeing into education, and you actually, definitely music was an escape for me, and really helped to free my mind. And I love to listen to lyrics. I know beats are good for me too. I love that too. But really, lyrics really used to get me. And so even some of the times in the household when it was a lot of drama going on, I would oftentimes listen to music and then turn up my music, because that's what took me to another place. And it helped me think and feel differently, or really imagine a different space. And then videos, boy, on those VHS tapes, the colorful ones specifically. That would take me to, it would give me exposure outside of my situation and things of that nature. But to your point, you still take that to school with you, right? And if you don't have an outlet, there's an issue. So as you're also your professor, you've been in education for a long time. And so can you just share a little bit about, like, the things that you discovered through your trauma, and then your connection with therapy, and then writing, and how did you really discover that was something important in the educational systems that you've been working in?
Well, you know what? I would say this. I was blessed in many ways to have great teachers, great professors when I attended my undergrad at University of Central Missouri. And I would say this: I came in. My journey into education was a lot different than most people. When I came into education, I was struggling with low self-esteem. I was really had high risk behaviors. And the thing that really, I would say, changed my life was the birth of my son. And so my son really made me look at my life, and I knew that I didn't want to pass on my adverse childhood experiences, my ACEs, or my generational curses onto him. And so one of the things that I really began doing was I started really getting into writing spoken word poetry. And I would never forget, it was Legacy Books and Cafe in St. Louis. And one of the poets was like, you poets talk a lot on the mic, but what are you really doing to make a difference in real life? And that really stuck with me. And my wife at the time, we made the decision to really go to school, go to college, because one of the things that I wanted to do was I didn't want to take out my work frustrations out on my child in the same way that I felt that my mom struggled to deal with her toxic stress.
Yeah.
So with my father being absent, my mom was overwhelmed with so many jobs and taking out toxic stress and frustrations. And I just knew that I wanted to do something different. And so I met an African American professor by the name of Dr. Brian Carter. He became my spiritual father figure.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, and it was just, I started learning a lot about Langston Hughes. I started learning a lot about Harlem Renaissance poets and how they would use their poetry to address the conditions that were impacting themselves in the community. And then I just kind of found a connection with that in hip hop. And one day I actually started teaching high school, and a student of mine was really going through his own adverse childhood experiences, but I wasn't able to reach him in a way that I wanted to because I was so fixated on content and that sort of thing.
Curriculum delivery,
Yeah. And so one connection that I did find out that we had was he really loved the artist Lil Wayne. And we were beginning to make connection and headway. And then unfortunately, he was murdered. And as a result of that, during that time period, I started thinking to myself, I said, what is it that I really, and I remember asking God, what is it that I really want to do? And I just kind of thought about hip hop was always a space for me to find a cathartic connection with Black men who were able to express their pain, but in a way that felt safe. Like, for instance, I would listen to Tupac, So Many Tears, or I would listen to KRS-One, or I would listen to NWA, or, you know, any of these Nas and all of these artists that was able to express pain that they had from father absence, pain that they had growing up in the ghetto, and that sort of thing. And I just remember I said, well, one of the things that these artists are doing is really they're taking their pain and turning this into poetry.
Yes.
And so what I started thinking about, like, you know, it kind of dawned on me from a scriptural standpoint as well, that in the word it says, Habakkuk, it says, write the vision and make it plain.
Right.
And so it started really saying to me that if we want to envision or imagine a better society, we have to show people how to write their visions down, make it plain. And really, one of the best ways to do that is to imagine yourself as a healthy, healed person. So, hip hop therapeutic writing really, for me as an English professor, I forgot to mention I am a professor in African Diaspora Studies. So I do not have a psychology degree, but I feel like as long as I have the skill set to teach writing, to understand literature, to understand poetry, all of this is really sharing your story. And what I have found is students really need an outlet to express their traumas, their adverse childhood experiences, that people don't realize that your adverse childhood experience can impact not only your childhood, but it has a sustaining factor into your life and health. Most of these students struggle from diabetes, high blood pressure, they get into substance abuse, they have violent tendencies. We have just witnessed, I don't know if your viewers have watched, a young person that threw an object and knocked the principal's eye out of the
Yes. Yeah.
And the trauma that these kids are carrying. So so my job and what I see DadCypher Edutainment doing is using using therapeutic writing in a way to help some of these students to boost their social emotional learning and their emotional intelligence. And that's something that all of us can use.
No, I think you hit so many different good things. So so I'm gonna go back. Number one, how old were you when you had your son?
Oh, I was 23 at the time.
Okay, so that was good, because I know you said that was a defining moment to where it shifted for you. And then drop that line real quick that the poet said on the mic that
Oh
hit
yeah,
you.
yeah. The poet said all of you. This poet said all of you guys basically talk about change, but all you do is just speak it through the mic. You're not doing anything else with it.
With
So
it.
he was really saying, like, and to me, in a sense, he was calling us spoken word artists like sort of Pharisees, so to speak. Like, we tell people and
Absolutely.
drop knowledge, but we weren't really living or giving people or saying these stories in such a way that the average everyday person would be able to comprehend. So, you know,
Yeah.
so
No,
so
that was spot on. Oh, and the reason why I wanted you to say it again is because I think it's something that each potential leader of influence, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, whether you're a poet, whether you're a rapper, whoever you may be, you can actually be on your platform, your stage, and you can talk. But the question is, what is your execution, right? What is your contribution? What are you actually doing to manifest these changes that you're sharing? Now, some of them, and what I heard you also say is some of the times poetry and rap and music is a way to express what the internal emotions are in a way that is safe. And I know that some children, they tend to do that. I personally would think, especially in this era, actually writing it would be better than leveraging social media, because right now they'll get on social media as a video diary, and then they'll publish it, and they don't realize that will stay around forever. So I know that right now, while we're recruiting at the firm I work for, if they pull something that shows your character, they don't really care if it was some time ago, right?
Right.
If you publish something, if you publish a vlog or a blog, so writing or video, it really doesn't matter. But I do think that writing is essential. The funny thing that you also mentioned, when I think about my own journey, I remember, and you and I have talked, and I've shared this on this platform as well. I did not go to school only because of how I grew up and some of the things that we had to go through. But writing, I knew how to write to a certain extent. I don't know, some people know some famous artists, and I do too, that don't know how to read, right? They don't know how to read, but they know how to make music. They know how to deliver things. They know how to facilitate. I think I saw a fashion stylist to like a lot of celebrities say she does not know how to read. And I also saw something here recently that I said, right now adults are reading. They used to read at like an 8th grade level, but now it's like a 4th grade level or a second. And and so if adults are reading like that, and we're pushing more audiobooks, right? Pushing more, hey, you don't have to write completely, right? And and we're pushing different narratives. The question is, and this is why I wanted you to come on and share, for a myriad of reasons, the importance of actually taking whatever your thoughts are and capturing it initially in your own safe space in a way that is comfortable for you. And sometimes some people may think it's whack just to write down poetry, but other people are like, let me put these bars down, or let me put these lyrics down, or let me put this chorus down, because some are singers, right? Let me put this down, and that will correlate with them, because I know back in the day, people used to keep diaries, and I was like, look, I don't got no time for no diary. Or they'll say, well, journal this. I was like, I don't got no time to journal. But now as an adult, I'm like, let me write this down.
Oh yeah.
That's something. It's like an outlet. It really does help you in ways that I think you hit this too, which is giving you an opportunity to be vulnerable in a way that you can really control. I think my question to you as also an educator is, when students, have you ever had a student that actually leveraged writing as an outlet to share what their trauma or their situation was? And then how do teachers deal with that? Because it could be like, is it safe to do that? Or will they put their parents in a situation? How does that work?
Well, I taught high school, and I currently teach at a community college right now. And I would say this: I have had a lot of students that have shared some really some gut wrenching stories, and they have come to me and said that it was a relief to finally be able to release that sort of pain in that space. I would say this is definitely not for the faint of heart. As an educator, I believe that one has to be rebellious and be willing to open yourself up to be vulnerable. And so what I really pride myself on is I am going to try to the best of my ability to make that student feel as safe as they can with sharing what it is that they feel like sharing. If they want to have it where I would talk to them one-on-one, or if they feel better doing this in a group setting. But what I have found is because I am willing to be vulnerable enough to share with them my stories and my struggles, it gives them permission to do the same thing. So what I would say, if it's an educator out there, I would say you have to be willing to be vulnerable yourself. And I would say this is the sad thing about adverse childhood experiences. All of us have them, but yet so many of us feel so ashamed of those experiences that we would rather pretend that we don't have them. And it pops up in different ways. And what you will find is that you have to be courageous enough to share your story, to share who you are, and be vulnerable enough where your students can then be able to step into that space. And one thing that I just want to get to really quick is oftentimes what I find is students that engage in violent behavior. A lot of times that happens because they lack the language to express what it is that they're going through. So writing and hip hop in many ways, because it's telling stories, offers a vocabulary that can help them to really sometimes de-escalate and talk those situations out. And I know a lot of people will probably say, well, hip hop has violence, hip hop has misogyny, so does Shakespeare, so does the Bible, so does all of those different things. However, we can use all of those moments as teachable moments to say, how do we engage in dialogue and conflict?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the not having the right words to clearly articulate what your feelings are. But in addition to that, I think it also is not having the right attention or people seeing you. So I think the other piece that I heard you say is that when a student feels seen or heard or listened to, it really creates, it's like one of the steps to creating a space where they can actually connect with you. And so as a parent, do you use the same practices? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, I know you have multiple hats, because some people are really, you got it from teachers to preachers, right? And they're great in one space, but their house is a hot mess, and then don't nobody listen to nobody. I don't care what you come, I ain't writing nothing down. So how about your children? How do you as a father really help them also connect with, some of your past, so they don't repeat it. Do you, and have that transparency, and then how do you work with them on similar topics?
I would say, what the beautiful, I would probably describe my fatherhood journey as the loneliest month, the jazz musician that said ugly beauty. And so I would probably say it was a lot of ugliness earlier on because, first of all, my kids did not come with an instruction manual. And then number two, I was dealing with adverse childhood experiences. And all I was, I would say the biggest mistake that I think that I made and a lot of parents did and how I went about fixing this was I viewed my children as a sort of space or a concept or idea for fixing my pain and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So I view my children as really blank canvases where I would hyper correct everything that was wrong in my life. And so I'm still trying to protect them from crack and all of that. And they're growing up in suburbs and they're growing up in all of these sort of things. So I'm trying to do all of those things. And they're like, Dad, like, what's going on? Like, don't answer the door. You don't know who that is. And it was like, and I had to get up from all of those things. So I would say, but on a serious note, it would, because I also went through a challenging divorce that took away my narrative. I would say it was struggles at times to connect with my children because at one house it was one narrative about me, and then at my home it was a different narrative. And it's very hard for a child to try to figure out which side do I believe and that sort of thing. So what I have found is one of the ways that my kids and I connected was through me being willing to listen to their own artists and that sort of thing. So in exchange for them listening to Mos Def and Nas, I would listen to their Blueface or 2 Chainz or and that and now Sexy Red and all of that kind of stuff. So I listened to their artists as well, and I found that we were able to form a bridge. Actually, that was the beginning of DadCypher. My sons and I would have deep conversations, and my daughter about hip hop. And and we would and I would try to break down lyrics. I always had fun breaking down lyrics because my sons would get in trouble for playing certain music in class. And then I was like, okay, well, we're going to break down these lyrics and start looking at why this is a problem or, that sort of thing. And what we began to discover is I began to understand what their world was like to be in an over-sexualized, hyper-violent world based on social media. And then they got a chance to understand that I'm coming from in a world in which there may have been an absence of that. And so hip-hop became a ground in which we could just kind of discover who we both really were. And it helped. It helped.
And I love the fact that, and thank you for, your transparency there too, to say, because this is something we talk about too on here, is really the relationship of fathers and then being intentional and because their presence is like powerful, biological and bonus. And what I heard you say is that, circumstances that within your divorce weren't, they typically aren't ideal, right? They're not ideal. when you do have and married people, you have an ideal situations that are not ideal either with the dynamics as well. But the reality is, I heard you say, you at some point, of course, with everything going on, you had to draw back and say, all right, so what connection can I still have with my kids? And then you had to hone in and be intentional about the narratives that were taking place. And I love that you called that out, because I do hear, and I've talked to a lot of men that say, hey, you know, there's a lot of narratives taking place, and she's telling my kids this, I'm paying this for, I'm trying to come see my kids and I can't. So, and I can't keep fighting that. And my thing is always, you need to keep fighting. You're gonna have to, and fighting doesn't mean that you have to be like fighting with the mom, but can you be strategic? And what I heard you say is you were like trying to, not that you probably didn't have some spaces where you didn't handle it right, but you were like, what can I do? I recognize that there are some situations that are outside of my control. There are narratives that I can't necessarily stop, but I can create through connection. Now, where can I connect? And that to me is a highlight. I just wanted to call out to other fathers and mothers who may be fighting different narratives. Again, don't focus your attention on the person that's creating the narrative, because that's a distractor, and the investment is not going to yield fruitful results, right? But tap into what you can do, which is those are your kids. Learn about them, and then make the connection, and then be intentionally interested, because you said, okay, all right, so how are you doing this? And then I heard you say, not only was I intentionally interested, I then took it and said, well, let me explore with you, let me learn what your journey is and how you're thinking about this. Which is, I think, it wasn't writing therapeutically writing, but you are listening to them and creating opportunities to, you said this earlier, create teachable moments, not only for them, but for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You know what? And I would probably say, back to the writing, the earlier version of DadCypher was really me and my 14-year-old sons, and we would get up there and we started our own YouTube channel, and we would talk about fatherhood. We talked about what it meant to be a dad, education. So it was DadCypher. It was funny. We would look at Biggie Smalls, and we would look at Biggie Smalls and the song Juicy, and then where he talks about he want to put carrots in his baby girl ears, but he was talking about giving up on school, and my sons gave their thoughts on like the materialism. And then on the flip side, I started listening to what they had to say with Schoolboy Q, that was, that talked about his struggles with drug addiction and being a father, and, and why he, felt the need to, he became addicted in a sense to opioids for the most part, because he viewed this in an ironic, strange way as an upgrade from selling crack on the streets. He was like, well, if I do opioids and I'm selling this to a white community, then that must mean that I'm moving up the social ladder until he got addicted to it.
Yeah.
And he talked about how it fractured the relationship with his daughter. And so what we found was we really would look at this, and it would help us to address issues that were going on. Like, my daughter and I would talk about the double standards when it comes to a daughter's sexuality versus a son's sexuality. And her and I actually broke down Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B's WAP, and we talked about it was an uncomfortable talk at the time, but we needed to have those talks because because she was saying that, she didn't want or feel a need to have her sexuality policed in any way that was different from her male siblings. And I totally agree with her. And I was like, and then it started making me think, like, we should teach our sons how to value their bodies in the same way. And so so we would write for the show. And so it still was like that therapeutic writing because we had to write because we weren't going to come on the show talking crazy.
Yeah, you gotta have some framework.
Outlines.
Yeah.
So we engaged in that therapeutic writing, and definitely, and that's why I said with DadCypher Edutainment, it's really that whole thing. It's dads, but it's also edutainment. So what my services with therapeutic writing is really about helping educators, dads, and students to really use the writing process to tap into to process and tap into one's emotions. And this really prepares you for the job market and that sort of thing, because it, bottom line is this: writing is about communication, and I don't know what job where you won't have communications and relationships. And if you don't know how to really process emotions and regulate, then you're going to always have an issue when it comes to job performance. And so that's some of the things.
And I'm happy you even highlighted that, because then I hear a lot of people, a lot of younger people and older people. Let me just go, because everything we're talking about, adults, I know I'll share this and then I'll talk about the job. But what you shared when I interviewed fathers about their fatherhood journey, a lot of it birthed another part of my book, which was the section I titled Shackles of Shame, because what I learned in that conversation and listening, and to women as well, because of course I grew up I grew up around mostly women, but I feel like we have shame that we don't know how to verbalize. We have we talk a lot about trauma, which is what we were exposed to, what was possibly done to us, what we actually did that had emotional and psychological impact to us. But we don't segue into that shame piece now, and the shame piece of like really diving into how it really stops us from healing, because we don't think we're worthy. We don't feel we're worthy of it. And we don't feel, sometimes we feel like it's soft to really explore those feelings. Sometimes we've been told that we can't, it's not strong. It's very, it's whack to really figure out what that is that you're feeling, when really people don't realize that to be vulnerable and to really understand your emotion is the strongest, most mature thing you can actually do, because then you don't allow you're a person of control. You don't, whether you're in corporate America or you're a business entrepreneur, and that's the piece I was going to say. I hear a lot of older and younger people saying, "Oh, no worries, I ain't gonna be at the job. I ain't trying to work for people. I'm gonna be my own." Well, here's the thing: if you're a business entrepreneur or working with a corporation, you still do life with people. You either provide products and services, business 101, right? Products and services.
Right.
You hopefully have investors. Hopefully you have customers.
Right.
So you have to be able to do life and relate to people. And if you don't, then everything will suffer that you want. So whether you're taught how to write your vision and make it plain, that vision is not on an island by yourself, right? It is impact or influence or provide something that's inside of you or showcase something to the world. And so education, right? Leveraging education. I love I've been on this one for a while, where the word says, "My people perish because of lack of knowledge." And it really, now here recently, it's really been getting to me, because he's talking about knowledge about everything. How do you pursue insight and understanding before you execute? How do you actually, how do you use a sounding board to say, Dr. JL, so here's the thing, I'm heated and I'm about to like, and I'm about to go off on her. Well, then opportunity to say that, you can say, well, Shay, well, let me help. Let's talk about this. Why are you feeling like that? What you're doing is challenging me to explore my emotions and put words to them, so that when I go and talk to the next person, I'm just not blowing up and saying something crazy. I don't know if you saw this, Jill, but it was a man and woman. I send so many DMs to my family. Watch this video. Watch this video. Ooh, don't get on that list, JL. You'll get a ton of these videos. There's this one. It's this life coach woman with this male, and she's asking. He's saying, he's asking a question, saying, "If I told you that I need you to help me figure out what's going on in my life because I'm struggling, and I need you to support me, then what would you tell me?" This was how he posed it to her. She responds, well, my response to you would be like, what my response would be, what is it? How do you feel supported? He was like, and so she asked that. He goes, well, that's dumb. That's dumb. I'm coming to you to help me. And she was like, but I don't know what support looks like for you. He was like, see, this is why I'm gonna be fooling with you and these coaches. And I sat there and I watched this, I said, this old fool. And Lord, if that's you and you watching, my bad. But I really thought that was a foolish moment, because here's the thing. If you can't articulate, which is fine, because sometimes we can't. Even if I'm saying, JL, I need for you, you hurt me in this way. If I said something to you and you say, Shay, well, can you explain what it was? Well, I don't know. Well, what would you like me to do differently, Shay? I don't know. You should just know you didn't piss me off. That's because we as adults need to know how to better articulate our feelings, but practice makes progress. And so if you don't practice it, then you won't progress. And then if you don't progress, you don't demonstrate it. So our kids grow up unable to properly communicate and not understanding that some of us are extroverts, which means we speak to think, typically speak out loud and then think later. Sometimes a problem, because I'm one of those, but we're gonna move on. You sometimes you do that. And so spoken word and talking things out for me is important, because then I hear and then I write. But then my husband, he is an introvert.
Yeah, that's me.
He thinks to speak. So if we're together and I say, so here's what I'm thinking. What you got? What you got, sir? Come on with it. Then it
doesn't work like that.
So I have to also not only recognize how I communicate, how he communicates, give space for learning how to articulate or process what am I feeling, because if I respond right now, you ain't gonna like what I say. So being able to even say those things. Not only do our kids need to be educated and learn how to do that, but adults do as well. And I think that, like you said, that the therapeutic aspect of it is so important. And music, I think what I hear you saying is just a way to use it it is a good example to kind of see how did they actually do it. And then not that you're going to be the next Tupac. Okay.
No. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I definitely want to talk about that too, because when we talk about writing, and now it is trauma that comes along with writing, because some people feel like, oh, well, I'm not an English professor and that sort of thing. You don't even have to be a good writer to engage in hip-hop therapeutic writing. You don't have to. It's just being brave enough to put words on the page. If you're brave enough to put words on the page, that's half the battle. But you know what? It's something that you said that I had to talk on, because we talked about this in my class today. One of the biggest things that when we're talking about adverse childhood experiences, how it shows up in the workplace is, as you stated, mind reading. When you have suffered from adverse childhood experiences, you catastrophize like everything is bad. It's a catastrophe. The world is falling down. You're Chicken Little. But another part of it is the mind reading. And I have the example. If you see a friend walking down the hallway and they look angry, then you say, oh, they obviously must be mad at me.
Yep.
Or if you see your boss, oh, he must have a bad attitude with me because of something I do. That boss may not even be thinking about you, but because you have had this trauma, and so hyper vigilant, like you're always looking for the other shoe to drop. It becomes hard to deal with that. So, you know, the writing is about, you know, taking the time to really slow down and that sort of thing. It's really, you know, taking the time to slow down and really absorb. And then the last thing that you said that I really want to hit to, when you talk about business, and it's so funny because people don't realize, even if you start your own business, it is relationships. But I always ask to begin my class for my students who want to become entrepreneurs. I said, do you want to be a boss or do you want to be a leader?
Yes.
Because being a boss is more of adverse childhood experiences. It means that everybody must serve me. I'm the boss. I make the rules. I say who, I say when, I say how. But if you want to be a leader is somebody that empowers, influences, and serves. And so any business that you want to be in, you have to remember you are serving someone. And so if you can't have a mastery over your one's emotions and regulate them, then you're going to lose out on a lot of profitability, relationships, and it's just going to be a lose-lose for you. So,
And that's spot on, because most companies, most businesses, they have some type of value statement, right? What what's your vision, right, for this business? What are the guiding principles or culture that you're trying to demonstrate? What do you want people to experience when they experience your products and services? All of those are questions that if you don't know how to articulate, you will get frustrated and say, well, look, I want your $1 million know-how, because you ain't going to be coming up here running my business. But really, it's the fact that, oh my gosh, I don't know how to properly share this. I'm nervous because I feel like your questions are challenging me because you don't believe in me, because people in the past hasn't. And it's that narrative that you mentioned earlier. And I think an exercise that is always important to me, and I mention this a lot, is the start, stop, and continue. Like, really, for myself, I like to write down for myself, what do I need to stop doing that's hindering me? Like, who even told you, Shay, this was what it was? Why do you have that narrative? You didn't validate with nobody. You just made that up, and you responded, yep. And that's why JL didn't even respond, because he didn't like, or whatever, right? And who told me that? Nobody but me. And then I went on. And so that tells me, okay, I need to stop doing that. What do I need to start doing? I just need to start just asking. Because if I could ask, it's going to do one of two things: either validate my narrative,
right.
It's going to challenge me to say, hey, Shay, I didn't even think that. And it's going to relieve me of something. And then we'll continue processing and reflecting on situations, because reflection is important. And you had mentioned, like, just the writing piece again. I just want to, the power of writing. I love when you said you don't even have to know how to write, or don't worry about this punctuation. Hey, with AI and all that today, you don't have to worry about punctuation anyway. Side note, just in case you are a fast typer and either don't wear your glasses or don't review text or post before, or both, because I do both. But anyhow, now you can go, you can edit. Thank goodness you can go back and edit text. You can edit posts. You can edit DMs. It's an amazing thing. My point is that you have resources that will help polish up whatever that makes you secure, but it has to work with something. And what you have, your story, as you started, your story is something and it's powerful. And if you stop having analysis paralysis and critiquing it so much, you may be able to share it and really see how it is purpose for, just as flawed as it is just, it's purpose and powerful for someone. And so, I remember even dealing with some of my trauma with my mom. We would talk about it every time she would take over the conversation. We're both direct personalities, but she was direct and she would jump on me if I try to get with her, so her directness won most of the time. So so when she said something, it would overarch, and most of the time she also did respect my perspective, and she would ask me stuff. Shay, should I do this, or should I, how can, because she knew I was in school, can you help me with this? And she would respect that. But when I wanted to talk about real issues that were happening with both of our healing and trauma and stuff like that, because they continued to try to bleed into my family and who I was, she didn't want to talk about that. So what I learned through therapy is what you're saying, leverage writing. And I said, well, because that lady don't let me get like 5 words in. I said, all right, so what I'm gonna do, and it always turns into an argument, and then I want to de-escalate, only because I just don't have the energy, and I just didn't want to invest it there. So I wrote a letter, and I wrote everything out that I wanted to address, and I just kept writing, and I had it organized and sectioned. And it was important for me because, to your point, it was a lot, and sometimes that's hard, because you even cry when you're writing it. Like when I was writing the book and I was trying to go over, really highlight one of the most traumatic parts of my life, I was like, ooh, every time the editor came back and said, hey, Shay, can you review this? I'm she would only ask me to review a sentence, but then I'd be looking, let me see what else. I don't want nothing else changed. So I read everything again. And then I'd be over there crying again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forget about this. And so when I sectioned everything, I wrote my mom a letter, and I gave it to her. I dropped it off with the rest of whatever she asked me to drop off. And she was like, what is this? I said, well, it's just something I need for you to read it. But I already knew she didn't get like a paragraph in and gonna call me. First of all, let me tell you about this little funky ass letter. It's probably what she did to me. Because I ain't gonna be doing the time to explain myself about. And by that time, I had worked up with therapy and my godparents who were pastors, because my other struggle was, I was like, Lord, I do not want to disrespect my mom, right? That was important to me, even though sometimes her attitude warranted a little course correction, and I wanted to give her the business, but I knew that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And so I then learned it's okay to have boundaries. So I would say, hey, Mom, it sounds like you still processing the letter, because that's about 1 paragraph. She said, and I ain't gonna be reading the rest. I was like, well, okay, well, then we won't be talking.
Sometimes healing is just, forgiveness is not, and sometimes therapeutic writing is not about that other person. It's really about yourself. And that's really the key. And like I said, when it comes to writing and that sort of thing, I think we really have a job as educators, as parents, and as students to really, to really not be afraid to, process, write out what it is that we feel. And not only that, I think writing is the first part, but we really have to look at externalizing and really deconstructing what it is that we're writing, really dissecting what it is that we're writing.
Correct.
And then, challenge yourself to say, okay, well, this is how it is, but this is how I'd like it to be. And that's one of the powerful things about hip hop. Some of my favorite artists in hip hop would talk about things that took place in the hood, but they also had some of the best songs, or some, like when I think about Nas, If I Ruled the World, he is talking about how he would like the world to be. And so another part of the therapeutic writing process is also you really faking it until you make it, writing out what your vision would be and what you would like it to become. And that's a great part, because look at these rappers. They go from poor poets on the street to sometimes, outstanding critically acclaimed artists. How do they do it? By writing.
But I think you make a 2 points I want to call out. One point that, like you said, I love the fact of the whole concept of fake it till you make it. I just switch it to practice makes progress, right? You practice it, progress, right? Because, some people feel, but I think the piece, and when I shared that I wrote my mom the letter and then she responded, she wrote the piece. I also want to call out and connecting it with the poet that you mentioned earlier, what they said. There is a time where you have to, like you said, reflect on what it is you're trying to do. And so with that being said, there sometimes are different phases, but understanding what you're looking for of, okay, in this phase, I want to express, right? And then in this phase, I want to actually see a manifestation of a change, right? And this, so sometimes I do see a lot of rappers, and I'm just going to be candid, a lot of rappers, singers, etc. They faking it, and they still faking it and making it and faking it and making it.
Exactly.
There's no depth. It's all surface, and they don't even know who they are. So that is, but that they haven't taken the time to say, okay, so what am I trying to do? What are my contributions? I'm not saying Nas does this, because I know he's active in his community, because I talked to him. I'm lying. I ain't talked to Nas.
I was like, what? I was about to say, word.
I tell my husband that used to be my boyfriend, but since we've been together for almost 24 years, I had to let him go. But honestly, we just.
Oh man.
But anyhow, but we have to really start understanding that if we're saying all these different things, social media is another piece that people will start seeing that you do not walk the talk, right? Yes, some people are entertainers, but if you're a conscious rapper, or you're a person that's really sharing that I'm trying to write this to make a change and influence, etc., then are you conscious about the character and then what comes out of your music, or what comes out of your writing, or your vlogs, or whatever, the impact on other people? Because whether you ever actually do anything that you're saying in your written word or your expressed word, somebody else is listening and they're doing something with it.
Oh yeah. And it definitely inspires. It definitely inspires individuals to go ahead and make that change, to be the change that they want to see out there. And I would say, even with hip hop artists and that sort of thing, you're always going to have high art and low art. You're going to have a song of the time versus something that's timeless. I'm pretty sure that when we listen to artists like Marvin Gaye, What's Going On album, that's timeless music, versus maybe something like Shake That Laffy Taffy, that sort of thing. Laffy Taffy was cool at the time, but but I would say this, and this is what I challenge my students. You can always tell an artist who is a prophet versus one who is just in it for profit. so that's just what it is. That's just, and it's preachers that way and that sort of thing. So
yes, everybody. Yeah. Let me ask that. I know that is facts right there. Whether it's you're in it for the profit, or you actually trying to, So let me ask you a question about like parents. What do you feel? What are some tips that you can share with parents? And you kind of already shared some things with educators, but even as a parent, that part of our role is an educator, right?
Yeah.
That it is what it is. We're the first educators that our children really experience and are exposed to. So, how would you recommend? Or how can they leverage hip hop or whatever genre of music or art? I love, you said high art and low art. I love that. I've never heard that before. That was really good. I love that. So how would you what tips can you give to them on how to get that started, to make a connection with their kids so that they can actually have a bonding in that space and then grow it into something that can be therapeutic and educational?
Well, you know what? I would say this, that I would tell any parent, and this is something that I had to discover for myself, that your child has to be the hero in their own origin story. And I would say that again, Spider-Man would have been Spider-Man if Uncle Ben was trying to swing on walls too. He couldn't do that. So, and that sort of thing. So your child has to be the hero in their own origin story. And so when we're doing that, I think it's very important that we teach our children we educate our children to look at problems from 3 different perspectives. So these would be my 3 tips.
Okay.
The first one, it needs to be external. Handle the external problem. Okay, the external problem is that I want to stop my ACEs, my adverse childhood experiences, from impacting me and derailing my future. Okay, that's external. I just wanted to stop.
Okay.
Then you have to get internal. And these are things. So I want to know how to stop my negative thinking that gives birth to that external, right? So we're teaching children how to become problem solvers from an external, internal, and last but not least, philosophical. I want to be the author of my own narrative. And I'll say this as a parent. Your job as a parent is to put yourself out of business. You should not be, your job is not to be their caretaker the rest of their life. Your job is to help them to learn to take care of themselves. And how they can do it, look at problems from an external, internal, and philosophical standpoint. And then they could get all 3 of them and really start thinking deeply. Because really the world is filled with problems. They're expecting you to be the answer. So teach your children that teach your children that they are somebody's answer. That's it. So,
well, I love that. Oh, that okay. So let me make sure. Did you get that, sister, for us? Come on. Oh, okay. Look, good look now. Okay. So yeah, I love that because we do better with lower numbers. Okay, so 3. 3 external, really take an assessment of what is happening and what you want to see. So that's outside of you, okay? And then do an assessment of internal, like and see what's happening and how it's impacted you, and then really take the philosophical look at it and really figure out the narrative, how to reshape that narrative. Did I get that right? What did you say about
that philosophical is really just how do you adopt this into a way of life?
Okay, so so I love that you actually broke it down like that, because that I think gives us, and my favorite thing, like you said, was as a parent, your job is to put yourself out of business. I know that's right, because like here, I definitely am not interested in being somebody's caretaker, and I want to be a journey partner. I want to be a advisor and things of that. But I am not. Look, we exploring this together. Like you said, this is the first time I don't have a manual for this, and you don't have a manual. And I want to really get you to a mature space where we can actually work through this together, because even that in itself helps you figure out how to do life with other people and work through situations with. I love that. So as as fathers, would you have do you have any additional tips that you can share with fathers that may not necessarily have access to their children to even have conversations to explore or learn about what's externally, what's impacting their child from those three different perspectives? Any ideas?
I would say that as a father, that you have to become a student of your child. In a sense, you have to become a student of what it is your child is all about.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you should not become a student of what their interests are, what's going on with them, and that sort of thing. And by becoming a student of their work, then and how do we do that? That means really studying, spending the quality time. That means challenging, asking the right questions, and that sort of thing. So I think every father must work on being a student or a good, or in a sense, if we're going from a biblical standpoint, they must become, in a sense, a disciple. How do you become a disciple? Well, you have to be earnest, following, understanding, listening. Become that. Become disciplined in understanding what your child really is, and then that way you could really form that bond and relationship. One of the things that I had to learn was that my child was not here to become my canvas that I was to write my life story on. My child is to create their own life, their own story, their own legacy. And so my job is really just to be a student of theirs. So like, well, what is it that you want? What is it that you want to do? And I think that makes for a better, father-child bond.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think you're definitely spot on. I think it also allows us to grow because as parents, as we learn more about them, they help us become more of who we were purposed to be. Because I think you mentioned it earlier, the difference between a manager and a leader. What I hear you saying is the leadership qualities are like a servant leader is what you're saying parents need to become as a servant leader. And because a manager is one that says, okay, it's all about the task that I want you to execute, period. So it is what it is. But if it's a leader, like you said earlier, it is someone that is very much interested in who they are pretty much shepherding, who they are connected to, the lives they're a part of. One of my mentors, and he's one of my bonus dads, he used to say when I got into corporate America a long time ago, he used to say, Shay, when you're out here and you're learning about people, and he said, business is about people. He was like, period, Shay. He said, it's not about numbers. It's not about everybody's going to tell you, you're going to have a lot of reports. You're going to have a lot of metrics, etc. He said, but I'm going to tell you this, those leaders that pay attention to the numbers, then they lose, right? He said, if you pay attention to the people, invest in the people, the numbers will take care of itself because the people will come through for you. And so I learned that was my focus was to, like you said, be a student of my employees, be a student and so that kind of helped me to be curious and be intentionally curious in a way that really also lets them know that I care and I'm connected. And I'm not only curious so you can carry out my agenda, like you said, which is a different kind of approach. So one question that I'd like to ask, because you mentioned legacy, and I ask this sometimes, and I ask it because pretty much the Lord asked me what was my legacy statement. So the question is, what is your legacy statement? And I for those of you that are watching, a legacy statement, how I interpreted it when I was challenged to write it myself, is most companies have a value statement. And it's really, how do you want to be seen? How do you want people to experience your business or your presence or whatever, experience you, right?
Right.
And so same kind of concept of when I ask what is your legacy statement, It is, what is it that you want to be known for in places, spaces, and times that you may never reach either?
Well, you know, I'll probably begin with my business statement, which is hip hop therapeutic writing remixes minds. And what I mean is, I really hope that before I turn into worm food and that sort of thing, I'm hoping that I inspired and empowered um, people to find their own truth and to renew their mind.
Mhm.
It took me a long time to find out what my truth was, because allow other people and other forces to uh, impart their narrative or force their narrative onto me. But
Mhm.
when I really started really beginning to write my own parable, my own story, then it made me realize I want to help other people to do those same things and help.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping that it'll help them to renew their mind every day, because I'm still healing from adverse childhood experiences. I
Mhm.
still must renew my mind every day. I
Mhm.
still write in gratitude books. I still journal, because I must renew myself every day, because this was something people don't realize. Addiction takes many forms, and addiction that I had was that negative thinking. And
Mhm.
so, in order to put those negative thoughts at bay, I have to, to do what many addicts do: keep working the program. And
Yeah.
that's through writing and renewing my mind. So not only am I, this is my business, but I'm a client of it myself, because that's what I believe in.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I think that is a good note to kind of wrap up on. I want to ask you though some of your favorite hip hop artists, and because R&B is music is what we're talking about
Okay.
too.
Okay.
I want to ask. I'm going to pull something up, but I'm going to let you think about it for a second here.
Okay.
And
I know my top five in hip hop. Now, if you ask me R&B, now that's a different story.
that's a
Now,
different one. Okay, well,
okay.
go ahead and give me your top five for hip hop.
Oh shoot! No particular order.
Okay.
First of all, Nas. Nas is one of my favorite of all time. The guy.
Okay.
Then I have to go with Pac. Of course, Pac is up there. Biggie, just flat out dope lyricist. And then I have to say, you know what? I really have to put in the mix Andre 3000. One,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
Andre.
in the South, and the guy is reinvents himself all the time. But you know what? I'm going to
Mhm.
throw in number five that people never really know. I'm going to
Okay.
put Lauryn Hill. Uh,
Okay.
because because Lauren Hill, whenever we speak of top five, we always mention men, but I can't think. This woman dropped one album and
Yeah.
it's still legendary. That is timeless.
It is.
You know,
It is time. So give me some of your top three favorite raps then.
oh man, my favorite. Okay, now my favorite. Oh man, you know what? My favorite rap song of all time
Uh-huh.
is "Triumph" by Wu Tang, and it's where Inspector Jack say "I bomb atomically," it's like that really low song. And I love "Triumph" by Wu Tang Clan.
Mm-hmm.
Another song that's one of my favorites is "They Reminisce Over You"
Oh yeah.
by,
Yeah.
by Pete Rock and
Yep.
CL Smooth.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is one of
Yeah.
like my favorites all time. And you know what? I would probably say like a fun one. I had to go with Rick the Ruler children's story.
Oh yes, yeah.
I mean, my man was
Yeah.
telling the story.
That one's my husband and I were just talking about that one. I can't remember, just not too long ago, because it's funny introducing like songs to younger generation. One of his colleagues didn't know anything about Slick Rick, and then my husband told him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like that's like a whole different level of music right there." Okay, so let's do any okay, R&B.
Ooh, okay. Now let me see. No particular order.
Okay.
But when I do R&B, I love old school. So
Okay.
I would say my number one artist, who I think is the best R&B artist of all time, is Sam Cooke. I mean, the dude is legendary. So Sam Cooke to me sets the bar. But then after him, I'm going to say Marvin Gaye.
Okay,
Because Marvin Gaye was just phenomenal as an artist. Then I got to go with my Midwest sister, Aretha Franklin. You know, so she's up there. If we're talking about R&B, man, you can't go wrong with my man Al Green. Al Green
is he's always making it happen. This is true.
Al Green, and last but not least, and man, I would say, because I'm a huge fan of hers, I gotta say Patti LaBelle. I love Patti. I love Auntie Patti, man.
Okay, and then I have to ask you about gospel. Any gospel?
Oh wow! Now, okay.
I gotta ask about gospel.
Okay, so when I talk about gospel, okay. Now this is gonna go really far back because I like the Clark sisters.
Come on, that's current, because Karen just dropped a new album, and I just listened to it. Okay.
Oh my guys, I love that. I love them. I would probably say, you know what? I was raised old school gospel too. My grandmother always had Mahalia Jackson playing. So we would listen to some Mahalia. We would listen to the Clark sisters. What's the oh my God, I forgot the name. I think it's the Edwin, that one to sing "Oh Happy Days." That particular group, I forgot. I think it's the Edwin group. I forgot their name, but I love their work. New guys, oh man, what's my man? Never would have made it without you. That dude, Marvin Sapp.
Hold on. Marvin Sapp. Yep.
Yeah, Marvin Sapp. Oh my gosh. He got me through a lot of stuff. When I was going through divorce and all that, never would have made it. And then my favorite gospel song is "He Saw the Best of Me." With
that's Marvin too.
And God Favors Me by Hezekiah. Yeah, and God Favors Me. I love that one too. Those are some of my favorites.
So okay. I will say, well, I think you have a really good list on both ends. I would definitely agree with well, pretty much all of it, because I do love some music. But let's talk about I did love Lauryn Hill. That whole CD was fire. Slick Rick is my guy. He is, oh my gosh. I love Slick Rick. And then let's see who else. Oh my gosh. I'll just give you my R&B. Definitely Anita Baker, number one. You didn't forget about Nita. Auntie Nita. I know Nita been in the news sometime, but she still got them good songs. Okay.
Yes, she do.
And then it is hard for me to say gospel. I love Clark sisters. I love I love Marvin Sapp. I love Fred Hammond. I love Commission. Yeah, and I think that's when Marvin Sapp and Fred Hammond, they were in the same group at that time, I
Right,
think.
right.
But, I love Troop from back in the day.
Ooh, okay, yeah. New Edition is up there for me.
New
It's New
Edition.
Edition.
Oh no, those are my guys every time. And so, but I have so many different artists that I love. I just think, like you said, music is major. I do love uh, Layla Hathaway. I think
Ooh, yeah. She got some good.
yeah, she be having some,
Yeah.
yes. So we got some good artists. So the point is, I'm just trying to end on the fact that music really does take us to a different place. It whatever genre you prefer, definitely make sure you take time to listen. Kind of make sure you are intentional about listening to the lyrics, and then
Yes.
see how they really pulled everything together, whether they were really declaring and affirming what they wanted to see and experience in life, or they were acknowledging the pain in order to properly have an outlet. Because something you said as well, you said something about addiction doesn't always look a certain way. One of the things I was addicted to, and it's still something I struggle with, and it doesn't seem like it's a problem, it may not seem like a problem for people, but I am one that will try to hurry up and build a bridge and get over things quick. And I do that because it is something that I was conditioned to do in order to get out of tough situations or help my family. It was like a fight or flight type thing. And it's like, okay, let me just go ahead and build a bridge, get over this, and go to the place I want to be, which is a joyful, happy, etc. Except for it is counterproductive, because sometimes you repeat certain things because you have to do everything you said before, which is really process externally what happened, internally philosophical. And if I rush that process, I find myself back in the situation. And so I have to make sure that I don't get over things too fast. And really, sometimes, being honest, perhaps I didn't get over it, and it's just I just moved it and buried it, or compartmentalized it, and then again, not addressing it. And so sometimes making sure that I take time to really process, and whether I'm using music or whether I'm like listening, expressing, writing, using people that I trust as a sounding board that will help me go through some of the things that you've already shared is going to be important. But some of the times when I'm feeling a certain kind of way, you got to find something to pick you up. And so music, if you're already feeling down on yourself, sometimes perhaps you don't want to put on certain music, right? If you feel like about that life, you may not want to put on some of those.
Don't play Tupac during that time period. I don't play Tupac when I'm driving in Atlanta traffic.
Yeah, don't be too much. You might need to bring it down to Sweet Love, okay? Anita Baker. Down My Heart, the boys. I don't know. You gotta do something.
Down my heart.
But I'm gonna share something with you guys. Hopefully I can do this, because sometimes I don't. I'm just gonna share with you guys at the back of my book, and I'm just going to put it up because you can just screenshot it if you don't have the book. But I actually was led to put in a whole playlist of songs. And so let me go ahead and share. Let me share my screen real quick. Share my screen fast. Shay, how do you do that? I present. Let's see. Share screen. Let me see if it'll do it for me. It may not do it for me. Window. Oh, there it is. Is this it? Yeah, here it is. Okay. Let me know if y'all can see it. All right. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, I can see it. Okay, Kirk Franklin. Okay.
Okay, so I have some, and these songs that I have here, I was really honestly led to share them mainly because of the lyrics, the affirming and lyrics that needed to be processed. So A Whole Nation, that is a song about it takes a whole nation to raise this generation. And so so it is actually not Kirk Franklin. Well, he don't ever really sing, but it is. It's actually a young boy that talks about, like, if I don't have my father, it's good to have my mom, but if I don't have my father, who's gonna tell me my name? Who am I going to be able? If a girl breaks my heart, what do I do with the pain?
I'm gonna have to check this one out.
I mean, I'm telling you, it always has me like very emotional because he's talking straight, and he's talking straight to us, saying, "I need," and moms, I know what you're thinking, but I need my dad, and so. Success is in your hands. That's that's Fred Hammond. Is very short, and it's really affirming the word, right? So success is in my hands. All I got to do is follow his plan. I don't need to waver to the left or the right. It's very, very short, but it's something I almost play every morning because I just remind myself, all right, Lord, let's do this because we partners and we about to make this happen. Intentional is what God is intentional. So if I know that and I know we reflect him, hey, there it is. No Gray, you check out No Gray by Jonathan McReynolds because that one is fire. And he's saying it's really hard because I know I want to live for you, Lord, but this world is very appealing to me. All right.
I could have used that 20 years ago.
he was like, look, I know I want to be used by you, but these streets is calling sometimes. But I also love the title of his album. It was called Life Music, which I think is what we should be gravitating towards, is music that brings life or really deals with real life instead of things that are fictitious. But The Curse is Broken, another declaration of things like you mentioned during our conversation, which is there are certain things that you recognize that happened, that your father's choices, and your mom, she did the best she could, and your grandmother, but there were still things that you dealt with that you did not want to pass along. And so really declaring that is the Curse is Broken, definitely a great song. Cycles is amazing. How to Break the Cycles. You will love the lyrics in that one too. And just so on and so forth. There are some, I just want to share this with everybody because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm not really sure what songs or whatever. These songs were here. God had told me something. He was like, hey, Shay, remember how movies had soundtracks? Well, this will be the soundtrack to this book. Look, y'all don't try to come for me. There's no profit off of this. It's just my recommendation playlist. Okay. We'll download this and give the artists their money. Right. But the thing is that this is a recommendation. If you don't know where to start with music or melodies that you could start, here's some recommendations. Dr. JL also gave you some good hip hop stuff that we like just in general too. And just, hey, if you guys have recommendations, make sure you put them in the chat or the comment section and let us know anything that inspires you or helps you really good framework that we could use to help work through some of the pain and trauma. Put those things in there too. We would appreciate it. So thank you, Dr. JL, for coming on.
Thank you. Hey, real quick, just want to say, if you're an educator, dad, or a parent out there and you're looking for hip-hop therapeutic writing, please hit me up at DadCypher Edutainment. And last but not least, make sure you click and subscribe to Intentional Conversations, especially if you want to be intentional. All right.
That's right. Come on with it. And hey, we have our groups on Instagram and Facebook. It's really Intentional Dads Movement, but Intentional Conversations is when we chop it up and we actually, make sure we are having meaningful conversations that will have a fruitful impact. And so, y'all, I'm gonna leave y'all with one thing, which is my shirt. Be blessed and thankful. This is from my just like me, I'm blessed and thankful, and so are you. If not, fake it till you make it. Like I'm just saying, practice makes progress, y'all. Be blessed. Marlon Turner and beautiful family, thank you for always giving me well, not giving me, I actually support Black businesses, but thank you for creating this to remind us and of who we are. And thank you again, Dr. JL, for coming on. Make sure you guys check out the resources he has. His website is fire. I'm gonna be calling you because I need some help with mine, but but definitely check it out. We'll put it in the chat again. I actually put it in every post on all of the social media, so you guys should be able to find his information, all of his social media handles, as well as his website. His website has a ton of information, especially, I'll highlight this and then I'll let you guys go. If you are a parent and a father, I think specifically I saw that's trying to help their kid or understand the educational, the college process.
Oh, yeah.
Actually goes through some things about that, and some fathers may be like, I never had a blueprint, I didn't go to college, but he gives you resources that will help you understand. So check out, and they're not, if you are worried about having to read a lot, he has a ton of videos which are short, so check them out. All right, y'all. Yeah. Thank you again. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful evening, and thanks.
All right, so Roy.
All right. All right, y'all have a good one.
All righty, take care.
Bye-bye.